Hello and welcome to another In a Nutshell video. This video is looking at topic 2F in the Christianity component of the Religious Studies A-Level from Eduqas. Topic 2F looks at key moral principles found in the Christian Bible. In this video, we are going to look at whether God's love can be seen as a model for Christian behaviour, with particular reference to the set texts outlined on the specification. In both the Old and New Testament, God is presented as a God of love. The first set text is Exodus 34, verses 6 to 7, which says that God is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness. It shows that God does not punish humans, even though they deserve it. God is patient, and his love is unchanging. It also says that God forgives wickedness and sin, but those that are guilty will be punished by God, including the children and their children, for the sin of the parent. Those who insist on doing evil will be punished, which shows God's justice. However, the consequences of these sins will be limited to be felt only to 3 or 4 generations. This passage lists God's characteristics and is also known as the 13 attributes of mercy. It refers to God's activity, which is acting with justice. This passage was given to Moses on Mount Sinai before the Israelites entered the Promised Land, and it emphasizes God's enduring love for his chosen people. In the New Testament, it teaches that God's steadfast love is revealed fully in the life and death of Jesus. The second set text is the first letter of John, chapter 4, verses 19 to 21. In this passage, it says that we love because he loved us first. And it also says that those who love God must also love their brothers and sisters. This shows the divine initiative of God, that God loved us first and draws us towards him. It also makes it clear that true love of God requires a love of each other. True love of God requires love of humanity. Now, the question that could be asked for AO2 is about the extent to which God's behaviour towards humans can be regarded as a basis for Christian morality. Some may argue that it is an essential moral example, as God sets and commands all of the moral laws in the Bible, and this makes it clear in terms of how humans should behave. For example, about the treatment of strangers and loving your neighbour. Also, as Jesus is the incarnation, Jesus was the perfect moral example for humans. He cared for the weak and the sick, he forgave sinners, and he welcomed outcasts. In fact, Christians believe that God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. This shows the extent of God's love for humans. As we mentioned earlier, 1 John states that God loves us, and we should follow his example. And it is because of God's love for all of us that we are able to achieve salvation. However, we cannot reach God's standards of morality by ourselves, and as Jesus did not inherit original sin, we cannot possibly begin to emulate his perfect moral character. Also, as God is omniscient, human behaviour cannot be as well informed. For example, about the consequences. We should also mention that in the text we have mentioned previously from Exodus, it refers to God punishing children for the sins of their parents, which to many seems unfair and should not be the basis for human morality. There are many other stories in the Old Testament that show God acting vengefully, such as killing with the 10 plagues. And in the New Testament, we read depictions of hell, which is a place of torture. Many also see God as egotistical, a God who demands worship. God is also someone who sacrificed his own son. And we could also make links with philosophy by considering why an omnipotent God would allow evil to continue. Considering both sides of these arguments, we could suggest that while God's perfection is unachievable, it is an ideal that humans can aim for. Likewise, Jesus' example is inspiring and can comfort modern Christians who experience challenging circumstances. Also, following God's example shows our faith in him, even if we do lack his omniscience. We could argue that it is God's love, teachings, and commands, not his behaviour, which is the basis for Christian morality. Thanks for watching, and make sure you like and subscribe down below.